Majority of people that I work with have never built a tech startup before. Doctors, lawyers, multi-business owners, but they've never built software before, which is very different than building any other style of business. So they come to Theanna because they need the step-by-step process of what to do.
Welcome to Discover Startups, a show that shines a light on early stage founders and the ideas behind the businesses that they're building. I'm Georgie Brown, and on today's show, we're talking to Nomiki Petrolla, founder of Theanna, a platform helping women turn big ideas into fundable, scalable tech businesses. Most of us know that there's an inequality in entrepreneurship, but in tech, the numbers are bleak. Last year, female-only founding teams received just 2.3% of global VC funding. Not because the ideas aren't good, but because of the biases that exist around women building in tech and the lack of support that they get when it comes to building. Unfortunately, without that early funding, many women get stuck at the very beginning, unable to hire technical talent, unable to validate ideas properly, and often pushed into giving away control just to get something built. A pattern created by a system, not the founders, and one that keeps the industry biases firmly in place. After 13 years of taking other people's ideas from 0 to 1 and realizing how consistently men had access to capital, engineering resources, and networks that women didn't, Nomiki decided to change all of that. With Theanna, she's built a platform that gives women founders the structure, technical guidance, and community that they have been missing, providing clear milestones from idea to traction, access to experts and male allies, and a way to build real momentum without handing over the power to someone else. Nomiki, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Georgie.
I have been really excited about having this conversation. I myself have had a background in tech, not quite as extensive as yours, but when I came across Theanna online, it was something that I was really excited to find out more about. I guess for anyone that's hearing you speak for the first time or hearing about Theanna for the first time, could you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what led you to where we are today?
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, I've been in tech for around 15 years, and 13 of those years was building other people's dreams. And those other people just happened to be men. I was kind of in a bubble, so I didn't realize that I was only working for men, and all the opportunities I had were from wealthy men who are either raised or sold businesses. And during this time, I also had 4 children. And my last child, who's now 3, got really sick when she was an infant. At the time, I was the head of product at an AI company, a true AI company, not just Gen AI that everyone's building now. This was like deep learning, machine learning for optimizations and operations teams and really large financial services teams. And I loved my work. It was the biggest challenge I've ever had in building a product. But at the end of the day, it wasn't mine. And there was no way I'd ever have a higher role than I did at that company. And I knew it was time for me to start making decisions for myself. So while my child got sick, it sort of pushed me to say, okay, that now's time. Like there is no better time. Why are you waiting? I think I just needed that, little push to say, okay, now's time. And when I did that, I had a lot of women that were like, oh my gosh, you're available. I'd love to hire you. And the more that kept happening, the more I realized they didn't have the same capital resources. So in the intro, you said that last year, 2.3% of venture capital goes to women. Well, as of this year, it's only 1.2%. We're actually on the decline. And unfortunately, because the system wasn't built for us to win, there are other things that we have to do to try to scrap by and figure out if we can build a business. That all a 2-year culmination of events and learning and data for me to really identify, well, how can I have an impact and help more women build their tech companies, get off the ground and running, get first paying customers, hit 10K MRR, get their dream clients, win grants, all the things. And that's what led me to build Theanna. And Theanna is this cohesive ecosystem that is not just about community while it's core, it's also about building and execution. And my favorite thing is also data. So we are giving you your traction data based on everything that you're doing, connecting and integrating with your other tools like Stripe and Notion and Linear so that you can understand all the work that you're doing. What is the return on that work, right? We want you to be able to measure it in addition to having that community to collaborate with.
I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. And what you've just described, I think, will have hit the nail on the head for so many women out there that are looking to build tech and haven't got the support system in place right now that they need to be able to do it. I think myself, coming from a technical background, you obviously come from a very extensive technical background. We obviously have familiarity with what these product roles are, but for anyone that's listening that might not come from tech, what did your background look like as a product leader? What did that mean? What were you doing in your previous career?
So before all these AI tools were available and you can just go into, Replit or Cursor and build your own tools, and they're still there, the product managers. But before all that happened, you needed someone to take a vision, compartmentalize that vision, and be able to prioritize based on impact the things that you should be building with an engineer or an engineering team to then go to market with. So I actually sat between the founders and the engineers, and I designed the vision, literally designed it using Figma and Sketch, and back in the day in Photoshop even then. And now everyone uses Figma and AI tools, but back then I would say, okay, I know what you want to do, let me design this experience. And when I did that, I would then take it to potential customers or customers that they had already signed up for beta, get feedback and iterate and prioritize and curate that experience. Then you create requirements and you do diligence on what you have to build. What is the complexity of it? Are there more simple ways that you can do it to test it in the market faster? And so my job was then to take all of that learning and all that documentation and go with the engineers and say, okay, this is how we're going to build it. Then when they build it, they'd get back to me and I would be testing it. Okay, now I'm testing that. Let's put it in front of our customers. Now it's so much more fluid because we have AI tools that you can do it a lot faster. But that's what I did for the majority of my career, 12 to 14 years of it before, I became a full-time founder.
It's great to hear the depth of the product manager role because I think it is something that from lots of people from the outside wouldn't have that insight as to what is it. But when you become a founder, when you begin learning in tech, yes, you have to wear lots of hats, but that product management hat, there are so many layers underneath that when it comes to building and validating.
Product managers, in my opinion, product managers and designers make the best founders because that role, it forces you to make a product that people want. You have no choice. If you don't make something that they want, you have failed as a product manager because the product is not delivering their job. So, in my opinion, product managers are the best founders because they know the intricacies of going into serving your customer and making sure it's seamless and solving those problems. And then being able to speak in so many different languages. The way I would talk to a founder is very different than the way I would talk to an engineer or a project manager or a marketer. All these languages and how you articulate what you're building and the outcomes make a product manager really great.
Really is a skill set, and it's one that blends so many different skill sets together. But it's exciting to hear that Theanna is able to give founders that maybe don't have those tools just yet the tools to become great founders and great founder product managers as well. We've talked about the funding barriers that women see in building tech. What are some other unseen barriers that you have witnessed, either from your own career or from the community that you've built with Theanna, that women are coming up against when they're building tech?
I could go on a tangent and give you a billion of them. The one that has recently continuing to come up that I'm trying to figure out how to solve for is that there is a lack of education on what a venture backable business is. Majority of people see the internet. Oh, they raised, they had this idea, they raised, I should go raise, I need to raise money to build this. And it comes from lack of education of what a venture scale business is. If you should be building a venture scale business, and is your idea truly that? And are you the person that can take that idea to a unicorn status? And the stat that I call out often is that 99.5% of businesses are lifestyle businesses. That means that they're not venture scaled. If they've received capital, they've received it in other ways. Maybe it's angel investors, friends and families, non dilutive capital, debt capital, right? There's so many different variances. And everyone glorifies this 0.5%, and they assume if you're in tech, you do venture. And that's not true. And so everyone that comes to apply to be a part of Theanna, not everyone, but a lot of them will say, can you help me with funding? I was like, sure, but we're going to help you build a sustainable business first. And then you can learn if it makes sense for you to go down venture route, right? Because the majority of the time, the answer is no. And last, I will comment is that a lifestyle business, that word does not give the business of justice because when you say lifestyle, it almost like diminishes what value a lifestyle business is. You could have a 10, $50 million business that's lifestyle, right? That is a very healthy business and likely with decent margins that you can survive off and build generational wealth for your family from. So that's really what women want. They don't come to me and say, like, I want to take over the world and build all these unicorns. And I want to go down this path where investors tell me what I have to do. And I want all these board seats. No one ever comes to me to say that. They say, I have this idea. I know who it can serve. I want to have an impact in my community and be a part of something bigger than myself and seeing change happen, right? They're not telling me that they're like, I just want to pull this lever to see if I can get a million return on this idea. They're not saying.
What for anyone that isn't familiar with the term lifestyle business, what does it mean? What does that look like? What is a good example of a lifestyle business versus a VC backable business?
So, a lifestyle business is essentially a business model that is not venture scale. So, it could still be a business that you run yourself with a small team that grows a little slower because you're not growing at all costs and putting everything you have into this. You don't necessarily have investors that are overseeing your decisions, and you are having an impact maybe in a different way that's not impacting the entire ecosystem. A lifestyle business is also relation to dollar amounts. People assume, immediately, oh, you hit a million in ARR, like that's a lifestyle business. It is. But that doesn't mean you can't be venture. It just means how do you make that conscious decision to do that. So a lifestyle business is pretty much everything outside of saying I'm going to be a unicorn.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think for anyone listening, it's good to have that comparison of like lifestyle doesn't necessarily mean about the type of product you're building. It's more around the ethos of how you're building it.
And the size generally and, like, how you run it. Like, you have more control over those businesses because you don't have a bunch of investors or board members and advisors chirping in your ear. You have to do this by this time and make these decisions or else, we're not going to give you our attention. I talk about it like it's predatory, and sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. It depends who's backing you. But generally, a lifestyle business is something that you have more control over.
I think that's a really, really helpful delineation for anyone that is coming into this space and trying to understand where their business fits between those two verticals. One of the things that really stood out to me about Theanna is your approach to access. So I want to talk about access for a second. There are lots of incubators and platforms out there that have extremely competitive application processes and have created lots of businesses, but it is a select few that are able to access the tools and resources that are on the other side of those application processes. How is Theanna different to those?
So there's a few things to note here. Typically, 1 to 3% of people who apply to an accelerator get accepted. Out of the 1 to 3% that get accepted, 11% of those are women. And that is a very tiny amount. We can use the Y Combinator as an example. Out of 225 that get accepted into every batch, only 10% of them are women, right? That's 25 women founded companies, which is a very small amount. They also take equity. I'm in an accelerator right now called Techstars. So what happens is when you apply, you get in, they give you cash essentially for an equity stake in your business. And they vary depending on location, how much they're giving you, and their terms, right? There's no one size fits all. But what I found is that not everyone needs to go down the accelerator route either, because that also means that accelerator route, typically, if they're taking equity, it means you do have the goal to go venture. So Theana could be a venture scale business and what we're doing. We still have time to like make a decision on how we want to go about that. But that was a decision that we made saying, I know that this can be much bigger. I want to see if I can do it. That again, this goes back to the lifestyle and venture businesses, but generally that information and how to build is not accessible. And even in these programs, they're not giving you, here's the step by step process. They're giving you people access. They're giving you network access. Of course, they're giving you capital. They're putting you in a pressure cooker environment and they're saying, these are all the people that you should know. Let's really go hard for 12 weeks and see what you can do and build momentum in that time frame. What ends up happening is those people who get in, they have had experience building businesses before. Majority of people that I work with, specifically in Theana, have never built a tech startup before. Doctors, lawyers, multi-business owners, but they've never built software before, which is very different than building any other style of business. So they come to Theana because they need the step-by-step process of what to do. So typically in my competitors, AI co-pilots or startups.com and other tools like that. Here's courses, here's mentorship, here's all the things. It still does not give you the line by line everything you need to do in order so that they can make decisions faster and really learn. And so Theon is broken down very granularly and it's focused on you. So it's personalized to your startup so that you never miss a beat. You can grow with it. It gets smarter the more you feed it. And it tracks other things that our competitors are not tracking at this time. So we're basically your startup mastermind. And accessibility is $99 a month or a grand a year. Because if you're serious about doing it, that's an investment that you'll find out within 12 weeks if I can get paying customers and get my returns immediately. Whereas the inaccessible opportunities in the accelerators, whether they're state funded or they're equity stake and or they're just programming, it's just not the same. And it's still pick of the litter.
It's really interesting to hear you talk about that. Obviously, your perspective is so nuanced because not only have you been in the huge scaling companies in your previous roles, you're now within Techstars, obviously, which is a very famous incubator, and you've been building on the outside. So it's so great to get your opinion on that as someone that has seen all the sides of the coin and has got
It's been
experience with all of
very
it.
interesting going through an accelerator while also essentially building an accelerator myself that's SaaS enabled. I have taken so much learning of what's missing for the audience that I'm building. And Techstars is built for a specific person, right? I want Theanna to be built for a large group of people who have democratized access to these things so that maybe if they go through Theanna and they're winning and we see their traction and momentum, maybe they open doors for the accelerator if that's something that they want to do. I can feed that pipeline to other opportunities in the platform.
Absolutely. And I think that it's that development piece that's really exciting about what you're building. I think this really nicely brings us on to talking about how the product works. So it'd be great to get a bit of a walkthrough from you on how Theana works to take those founders from idea to revenue and what a user can expect when they first log into the platform.
So when you first sign into Theana, we onboard you and we gather information on you and your business. For example, what is your LinkedIn URL? What's your TikTok? What's your website URL? What's your one-liner? We also ask you questions around what's your business model? What's your first and secondary industry? Do you have funding? How much funding do you have? And we use that information to build out your personalized experience. And in Theana, it's broken down to three components: build, connect, and analyze. Build, we have a build mode technology that allows you to go into one of four different stages based on everything you gave us in onboarding: idea, launch, grow, and scale. Idea is pre revenue, which is the majority of people who are starting with us. There are 11 milestones in any given stage. Those milestones are based on everything that you should be doing or focusing on within your time frame to get a result. So when you start in the idea phase, there's 11 milestones. Say, for example, stage one, I have an idea, I need to get started. You come in, you click problem statement, build mode. Click build mode, you then get 15 different tasks that help you validate the problem. We are compounding GPTs. There's over 600 GPTs inside of Theana that gets smarter the more you use it and that compounds in knowledge. So I complete one task, great, now I have this information, let's go to the next one. It already has context. It knows what I'm doing so that I can reduce the amount of noise as I'm building. And in addition to that, we have the community because often we know that we're doing the things that, ChatGPT or Claude are telling us to do. And now Theana is telling us to do. But we want to gut check that with other people who have done it. So the community aspect is really critical. We have investors, exited founders, we have builders who come in and educate so that you have free reign of asking questions. That is a safe space for women to say, I don't know if I'm doing this right. Can you support me? We've held over 70 events since May. So we have a lot of experts that come in to educate. And that's the component of the connect. Then the third one, which we just released yesterday, is called Analyze. Analyze lets you take all that information in build mode and integrate with your Stripe account and your personal goals, your custom goals, and your streaks, how often you're working, so that we can identify what is your current MRR, what are the gaps and opportunities based on everything that you're doing, and provide you with insights. Our goal is to, again, reduce the noise so that you can find signal and identify gaps and opportunities so that you can move faster. And when you start with us, we want you to have paying customers by week 12. That's our
Wow.
goal.
I mean, it's so amazing. I can see the amount of time that people spend spinning their wheels, either at idea stage or just because they don't have that clarity on what the next thing they need to do is that's going to move the needle forward. So to know that when you're signing up to Theana, you're signing up to a support system to help you get that revenue by week 12 is fantastic for people to have that milestone to work towards. Now, obviously, one thing that's completely different about Theanna to any other tools that might be out there is that you are for women only. That decision was obviously informed by your own background. It'd be great to get a feel for how it's been received and how you're building the product to make sure it specifically supports women.
So it depends on my audience and who I'm talking to. And any given day, I can either be like, yeah, 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 go women, or why not men? It's almost guaranteed that anytime I pitch in a room, there's always one person, a male, that raises their hand. Why not us? And there's a lot of reasons for that. But the first and data backed reason for that is because working with men for 12 years, I saw patterns, how they make decisions. I knew that they made decisions different than women leaders. The data backs all of this. But I saw it firsthand because prior to Theanna, I had an accelerator. It was a 6-month program, one on one with me. And I was able to see what patterns and behaviors helped them make decisions that were positive and negative impacts on their businesses. So I had a year of helping 43 founders take an idea and to launch their startups for me to realize I now know that they make decisions much different than men. So even if the Theanna community, like the way that I've structured the community aspect specifically, was open to both genders, it would not work the same as if I had it for everyone right now. However, that is to say that Theanna is now a B2B product. So if you are earlier stage, it all comes down to culture and how you curate the experiences. It's not just about the tooling. So the community aspect is really critical for women specifically and why it's women only. They want to build in a safe space. But that doesn't mean, and this is why we're going B2B, that if I had an entrepreneurship center that had 100 founders over the last few years that needed access to their own things and have tooling like this, that it wouldn't work because it will. We're proving that right now with our letters of intent for universities and centers. But the difference is how you cultivate a community and a sense of belonging and nurturing of the people who are going through it and how you treat that information to support them. So for me, the way that I was building Theanna's community specifically, it was really critical that every woman there knew no one is judging you. You can come in here not knowing what the heck you're doing, and that's okay, while also squashing a little bit of their imposter syndrome. Now, if I open this up to both genders, I guarantee you that women probably would not be speaking up as much as they were. They wouldn't be coming out of the woodworks talking about some challenges or personal things that they're going through. So I think in general, the community is really what makes everything stronger. And if a community of engineers or a community of student entrepreneurs wanted to have their own, it's all about the culture that you cultivate to make it work for them. And it's less about the tooling.
That's a really inspiring thing to think about. And I think the imposter syndrome is something that really rings true with myself and with other female founders that I've spoken to. For whatever reason, I think it's something that we're maybe a little bit more prone to. But it's great to hear that having this safe space within Theanna where female founders are able to communicate and push through that, push past those barriers and know that there is a space for them to be building what they're building and that they can build cool shit.
Yes,
through.
absolutely.
Out of curiosity, what were those differences that you saw between male and female founders in those decision making
Yeah.
spaces?
The one major thing that always sticks out to me is that men don't really give a shit about what's ahead of them. They're more likely to just be like, I'm going to throw money at this and just see what happens. Women are more calculated in how they identify a return for what they're going to push their energy or money towards. So, having a process in front of them and knowing an outcome that they are reaching towards and reverse engineering it was actually more prominent in the women's spaces or the women that I worked with. And this is no hate to either gender. I think it's just interesting how we make decisions and how different it is in the outcomes. But what I have found is that, in the data, women do outperform our male counterparts. And I think, one, we are more nurturing. We're not just thinking in black and white of data, but we're also thinking about our instinct and our nurturing of customers is different. I mean, First Round Capital is a Series A fund that has funded Uber, DoorDash, all the major companies that you could think of. They're in their rounds. They did a 10-year data pool of the data in the past 10 years. And a few of those points were based on women performance. And women CEOs outperformed our male counterparts by 63%. We also had a 35% more return on investment. And so I believe that women are thinking about the grand picture and not just what's right in front of them. And so they make decisions that way. And what I have found too is that it might take them a little bit longer to get to that and to make that decision because they're thinking, and we don't want to go into an analysis paralysis, but I think it does take a little longer for them to like say, okay, I'm in, right? They're not as impulsive.
I couldn't agree more. Obviously, being a woman myself, one thought I had earlier was more around like the amount that I think women are expected to juggle in society anyway. But I think when we've got so much on our plates, we have to be a lot more strategic about where we're prioritizing our time, our resources, our energy. And I think that those ingrained behaviors would naturally lead their way through to how we look at building businesses. And I think it's a superpower of women that might not necessarily get noticed, but when you look at the data and those 10-year streaks, it's obviously coming through. And it's great to see that Theanna is a platform that's able to support these women in building businesses their way, not necessarily the way that it's been done before,
Yeah.
because that's how
And I
change
think it's
happens.
crazy that we get asked questions like, well, who's watching your kids? And how are you going to run this if you have to go to soccer practice and do all this all the time? And I'm pretty vocal about my stance. So no one has ever had the gall to ask me, how am I doing this with 4 kids and that negative connotation? But I can't wait for the day. So I can't wait, to be honest. But I have friends, a lot of friends, and a lot of women in the community who have been asked things that are just asinine. Actually, one of my friends, her name is Christy Candela. She founded B Scene, and it was an investment platform. And she's been pivoting a couple times to find what is the thing that she can build at scale right now. And she started with an anonymous tip line so that any woman who's gone through some type of investment, they can come in and put in what someone said to them, who said it, anonymously, what fund, all the things, so that other women have access to knowing this information. It's sort of like that Facebook group that says, "Is this my husband?" or something when you're going on blind dates. It's the same exact thing, but for investors. And it's so funny. The things that I've seen, I'm like, are people crazy? People are crazy.
They are crazy. I'm absolutely obsessed with that idea. It's like Glassdoor, but for funds, which is like such a great
Yes.
idea.
Yes, and all anonymous, so no one ever feels like someone's gonna out them or someone's gonna put anything against them. You should talk to Christy, she's amazing.
I definitely think I will. I'll be pinging you an email after this to try and get her
Okay.
email. That's so exciting. I guess a final couple of questions on the product itself. Obviously, there's a huge amount of features within Theana. You've got your milestone tracking, your community, your expert access. What features have you found that founders are finding most useful?
I think the main one is build mode. So build mode is all tailored to, I mean, the whole thing is tailored to you, but say you go to ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. When you go to any of those tools, you're just going in a loop. Like you're constantly chatting, you're not able to like execute. It's just ideation and you're going into a chat abyss. And what Theana does, and we use Anthropic, we're using their models for this. We actually have prompts to stop you. We want you to stop. And that's why the 600 GPTs is because we don't want you going into that abyss. We don't define success by the amount of time that you're chatting with AI. We define success by your outcomes. So if that means you spend 2 hours coming up with what you need to be doing, and then you feedback data to us so that we can say, you did XYZ, this is the momentum you have. That's the win. It's not chatting all the time. But what I found from our customers, and I just had someone give me a testimonial today on LinkedIn, was that the frameworks actually helped her get 75 beta users. I had another one that last week told me that she's now at 30K in revenue per month, which is wild. And they're attesting it to, it's giving me clarity because it's so smart. It has memory. It knows exactly what to do. And then we have put in our own prompt engineering to say, don't do that, or pause here, go test this before you do this. And we're giving you little challenges as well. So we're kind of pushing your boundaries because we want you to step out of your comfort zone, right? You only grow when you're uncomfortable. And Theana's very good about saying, like, get your ass out there and go do this in the next 3 hours and see what happens, right? So we have found that that's working really well. And a lot of our founders are giving us testimonies like, it's blowing my mind, or this knocks the socks off of XYZ. And I don't want to brand shame anyone, but that happened yesterday. To even, when you're building something, you kind of question, like, are they saying that because they're being nice or are they finding value? Well, we have the data. And so we're seeing the results. And on top of that, we saw that in October alone, they spent 27 million tokens in Theanna's build mode. 27 million. I mean, we have
That's crazy.
159 paying customers and around 182, I think, total.
Mhm.
And for the if you just do the math there, if maybe you only have 50% are monthly active, I don't, I'd have to look at my data this morning to find out. But generally, if we're saying that, that is a crazy amount of tokens that's being used for you to be in our build mode technology. So that one I think is the most powerful because the knowledge it has on you and your startup just gets better and better and better.
The difference that you mentioned there between momentum and motion is something that I've always found so important whenever I've been speaking to startups, working with startups. I think it's very easy for us all to get tied up in motion and busy work. And I've sent X many emails, but are they actually doing anything? And yes, I've had a nice conversation with ChatGPT today, but what's that actually doing? And I think the way that you touch on how Theanna, it pushes that momentum forward to make sure that the work that you're putting in is valuable is just unbelievable. And it's such a testament to the product that you've been building and for the female founders that you're supporting.
One thing that we are experimenting with right now is gamifying it. So you
Whoa.
unlock things while you're doing it. And so that has been kind of fun. The first thing that we did was revenue milestones. So if you unlock your first paying customer, there's like an Easter egg that happens.
Ooh.
And then there's a couple other ones inside the milestones. And we're finding that people enjoy those because it's like a moment of delight and you want to win. So it's sort of inciting that internal self competition within yourself to say, now I want to go after that because I know that somehow, somewhere, I'm going to get an Easter egg when I hit some kind of target. So it's been really fun experimenting with features like that too.
That is awesome. And I imagine for a lot of solo founders that are using the tool, the satisfaction that those Easter eggs and those moments of joy must bring. When you're building alone, it's tough. You have a moment that happens and you want to celebrate it, but it's just you in your office. So having those small moments where the tools are interacting with you to celebrate is so satisfying. I can see how people would love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I would be amiss if we didn't talk about your upcoming program, Women Build Cool Shit. What sets us apart from other accelerators, incubators, or programs that are out there right now? I'd love if you could talk to us a little bit more about it.
Well, I think the main thing, when we touched a little bit on it earlier, is that Theana is really based on execution and actually helping you move the needle every single day. And it's less about talking at you or throwing a, here's a webinar, here's a person that you can talk to without any direction. And while we have events and webinars and workshops, that's great. But to be able to actually do the thing is really critical. And what the program is doing is taking everything that we've built in the software and we're adding the layer on top of accountability and experts. So every single week, there are 11 milestones in the idea stage. So, problem statement is the first one. I mentioned that earlier. We have an expert that's coming in every Monday to educate on each milestone. So, Jess Lynch, who's a Founder's Edge partner and an exited founder, she's a CPA and an MBA, super intelligent woman and amazing ally of Theanna. She's coming in to talk on Monday. Here's everything need to know about problem statements, how to validate it, how to understand if you're getting the hair on fire or if it's just an itch. And then everyone comes to that educational session, can ask her questions. They go back into their work zones, go into build mode, do the thing. Then every Thursday, they come back, only founders. So the traction board allows you to track your goals. They're custom. So you can put in anything and you're going to say, I need this done by this time. Every Thursday, you come back with all the founders. We do mini breakout sessions that use severe accountability. Okay, now I'm in a group of three other people and they're trying to reach these goals. I have to show what I've done. We're doing that up until week 6. And then week 6 is a build-a-thon, a 5-day build-a-thon. We're going to be building out your product, refining your current MVPs, all the things. And then week 7, and we'll have technical support there as well every day. Then week 7 to 11, we have experts and the milestones based on marketing and sales. We want you to have sales by week 12, and we have the platform to help you track all of that. And then we're closing out with 2 panels. One is a venture track panel, another is a lifestyle panel, because education, as I mentioned, is so important in this stage. So we have Rogue Women's Fund, Hearst Lab, and How Women Invest coming to do a panel on education of what a venture scale business is. Then we have exited founders like Sharon Gillenwater that's coming to talk about what is a lifestyle business and why is it a good thing to build one. And then they get access to Theanna for the next 9 months because all the cost is the annual membership.
It is such an exciting program, and I cannot wait to see what the women that are in it build. I think it's going to be some amazing tools that come out of it, and the people that you've got coming to support the women on the program are top tier female founders and female investors, and it's really going to be an exciting thing. I'm excited to watch it really move the needle, I think, for women in tech in 2026. And it kicks off in January, is that correct?
January 5th. We already have 32 signed up.
That's so exciting. And
I
for people
know,
that
we're
are
pumped. We're really excited.
listening to the idea of this accelerator, is it done in person? Is it remote? Do you have to be US based?
It's all virtual.
Amazing. Okay, so if anyone's listening and you've got this idea and you feel like this is the thing for you, I'll put the link to the sign up for this program in the show notes so that you can check it out. Now, Nomiki, I guess to move on to our last few questions, obviously you're a very experienced builder and a very experienced founder. What would one piece of advice be that you have for other founders that are just getting started that you want to share?
Majority of the times, if you're a first time entrepreneur, and I fell into this trap too, is that you're almost too afraid to make a decision or to fall on your face where you stop yourself before you get started. And if you're a first time founder, you likely already have the internal conviction of why not me? It's time. I can do this. You've already told yourself you can do it. Now, every step that you take, remind yourself, do not fall into the trap of, no, I can't. It's too saturated. I mean, every industry is saturated. There's thousands of competitors for all of us. It's a matter of finding your piece of the pie. So just keep going. And if you are consistent and you're solving problems, you will find your people and you'll be able to build momentum and identify, is the thing I'm building going to work? Do I have to pivot? Or is there another solution that I can be thinking about?
And one thing that I've done that always helps me whenever I'm building is whenever I do get a piece of positive feedback, not necessarily like big feedback, but someone comments on something saying, this is good, this is a great mission, this is whatever it is. I screenshot it and I put it in a folder on Google Drive and I've got it as my like proof bank of like when I have those
Same.
moments of doubt, go there. There's people supporting. And I think that's one thing
Yeah.
that's fantastic about it as well.
I have the same thing. It's called my wins Dropbox. We have one in Slack too, so that now Amish, who's my founding engineer, he and I can celebrate together because he's in the building abyss. He doesn't get to interact with the customers as much. So I'm like, you need to see what people are saying about what you're building here. So it's a huge thing to be celebrating the small things. I think oftentimes founders we forget because we are such high achievers already that the small wins don't feel like a win. But if you took a step backwards and you had 10 people looking at you and you told them what you accomplished, be like, that's a win. You should be very proud of that. So I think it's important. That's why community is so critical.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. And I guess as we move on to the final couple of questions, anyone that's listened to this, loved it, absolutely obsessed with what you're building with Theanna, what are the best places for them to go to follow along, to learn
Yeah.
more, to get involved?
I build in public. So I'm on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and now Threads. So if you search for my name, you will find me all over the internet. I'm obnoxiously visible. That's my main marketing channel, the free internet that it is. So you can really just find me anywhere.
Fantastic. Well, again, I'll make sure to link all of that in the show notes for anyone that wants to follow along. Now, finally, we've been asking every founder that comes on the show to recommend another startup and another founder that they think that we should speak to, because we really believe that a rising tide lifts all ships. Nomiki, what is another startup that you think that we should check out? And we'll try
Yeah.
and get them on the show.
I have two. And the first one is June Erickson. She's building the Home Shark. She has over 25 years of experience in being a realtor. Recently, I think within the last 18 to 24 months, the law has changed here in the US on the fees and the commissions that happen when you're selling a house. And she wants to get in front of, no, she is actively getting in front of it. And she's built Home Shark, which is a comprehensive experience so that any home buyer, any realtor can go through a process and reduce the pain that's been happening with the industry changes. And this comprehensive platform is insanity. She's amazing. She's a subject matter expert beyond and also a six-figure business owner. I believe it's seven-figure, but I don't want to make a mistake. But she's had an exceptional career, and her developer have built a really powerful tool. And the second person I wanted to mention was Michelle Costa. She's building GoSadi. She's a multi-business owner as well. And GoSadi is in the craft space. She's changed pretty much the entire game of knitting and crafting so that any creator, when we say creator, typically you think social media, but we're talking literally the knitters, the craft maker creators, they can have access to all their prints, everything from different tools like Etsy and Pinterest, and more people can find them using AI and getting the patterns that they need to build their business. And what she's building is a very articulate and intricate tool that empowers a market that really had only one other place to rely on, which is Etsy. And she's expanding that, which is an incredible mission too.
Those both sound like phenomenal startups.
They're
So I
amazing.
cannot wait to reach out to them and hopefully get them on the show for a good old chit chat. Nomiki, thank you so much for your time today. It has been so exciting learning all about Theanna, what you're tackling, helping women build in tech. And I am so excited that we got to have this conversation today and that more people can listen to it. I
Thank
really
you so much
appreciate
for
your time.
having me. I appreciate you.
It has been a total pleasure. If you enjoyed this episode, you can support Nomiki and what she's building by checking out the links in the show notes, following her on social media, and sharing this episode with a friend. And if you like what we're bringing you here from Discover Startups, I would love if you could take a second to subscribe to the channel and sign up to our newsletter. That way you'll be the first to know when a new episode drops. That's all for now, but I'll be back soon with another founder, another story, and another startup for you to discover. I hope you all have a great day.